forth between the NPP and the NDC over the discontinuation of some cases that were inherited by the Mahama administration. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Ayene, has explained why his office found it necessary to discontinue those cases. It was purely based on lack of substance and inability to sustain the charges. But the MPP will have none of that. We had a counter presser by the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, that's Mr. Godfrey Dami, who says that the Attorney General's reasons for discontinuing this case is not tenable. When we come back from the break, we'll be looking into much greater detail what these issues are. My name once again is Aldo. Thanks for always staying loyal and staying with us here on Metro Television, and also for tuning in to watch Inside Pages, which is your go-to place when it comes to insightful and quality conversations about this country, Ghana. I'll be right back.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it.
In an era where fire safety is paramount, Kabori Film Compound Technologies Limited stands out as a leader in the development of innovative fire dousing solutions. With a focus on aqueous film forming foam, the company provides a cutting-edge product that significantly enhances fire suppression capabilities across various sectors, including maritime, industrial and emergency response.
The oil and gas sector, along with chemical manufacturing facilities and fire services.
Kabori's advanced film technology offers a more efficient and environmentally responsible alternative.
Kabori is recognized for its superior extinguishing capabilities and prolonged resistance to reignition. Kabori's product is certified by the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Standards Authority, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Nigerian Standards Organization.
Kabori Film Compound Limited is situated in Nsawam within the eastern region of Ghana. For inquiries, reach out to them on 0245-885-288 or 0244-514-048. You may also contact them via email at info@kaborifilm.com. Kabori Film Compound Technologies Limited, providing film compound solutions to health institutions.
One upgrade is nice, but a double upgrade is amazing. And that's how we do it. Upgrade today to get even more with Step Up. If you're on GoTV Max and upgrade to GoTV Super, you'll get way more with GoTV Super Plus.
It's so cool!
Get big value. Get big entertainment.
Very good.
Perfect! Upgrade and get even more with GoTV. GoTV. Love it.
Should be seriously worried if her Attorney General demonstrates such ignorance of the basic principles of criminal law and the ingredients of offense, which border on the protection of state funds or public property. I deem the press conference hurriedly assembled by the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, as a knee-jerk reaction to genuine concerns raised by well-meaning Ghanaians on the attempt by the NDC government to whitewash the crimes of persons who served in the NDC government and as far as the law would allow, clothe them with perpetual ability from being prosecuted for crimes committed against the Republic of Ghana. The posture adopted by the Honorable Attorney General
please, led by the somebody who we believe works at the National Security Coordinator's Office. Mr. Speaker, his name is Mr. Jakwa. Mr. Speaker, we have investigated the matter, and we want to say and assure our fellow countrymen and our colleagues in this House that we have received assurances from the Office of the National Security Coordinator that it was not intended that that should happen, and that occurrence is most regrettable and unfortunate, and he wants to give this House his word and assurance that a thing like that should never happen again. I personally extend my apologies to the former Minister of Finance, and I believe that this should suffice.
I'm an MPP, proudly so. You are an NDC, proudly so. Don't let us use this platform to denigrate even our leaders. Sometimes the way we go after our leaders, the little said about it, the better. We use unprintable words. And let me caution all of us. The 2024 elections, check the percentage turnout. A percentage of our population is getting fed up with the political class because of our conduct. So, Mr. Speaker, some few days ago, I was scolded. Why are you apologizing? I said, when you need to correct the wrong, swallow your ego. At least that's what I've been taught. It doesn't matter. And if the whole majority leader, on behalf of government, is apologizing to an individual, we must celebrate him.
The reckless abuse of power executed under full military backing signal a disturbing shift towards authoritarian governance, where brute force is now replacing the process and political replacing due process, and political witch hunts are being disguised as security operations. It is nothing short of a state-orchestrated assault on individual freedoms and an alarming escalation in the abuse of powers. Similarly, on Monday, 3rd February 2025, the residence of Lord Comey, former Director of Operations at the Jubilee House, was raided with his vehicle unlawfully seized. Former Minister of Defense, Honorable Dominic Nitiwo, was also targeted as security operatives chased him down and forcibly took possession of his vehicle while it was at a workshop. For such incidents to occur under a government that once vehemently condemned the use of military force in political matters or for political ends is not only the height of hypocrisy, but also a shameful betrayal of democratic principles. The OSP, subsequent to the raid, has also, without recourse to law and due process, announced at a press conference that he considers Mr. Oforiatta a suspect and a fugitive. This is shocking. When no charges have even been proffered against the former finance minister. This country belongs to all of us, and no administration has the right to weaponize state institutions against its political opponents. We demand an immediate, transparent, and independent investigation into these politically motivated attacks and insist that those responsible be held accountable. The harassment of former government officials must cease immediately. The NIB, on Monday, 10th February 2025, wasted no time in summoning the Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Frank Anodombre, for questioning over comments he made concerning the disputed Ablekuma North parliamentary elections results. His words urging MPP supporters to protect their own were swiftly deemed insightful and required interrogation at the highest level of the security apparatus. Yet, when Mustafa Bande, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and Deputy Director of Operations in the Presidency, openly declared on live television on Friday, 7th February 2025, that the NDC would sacrifice the minority leader, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the NIB found no cause for alarm and did not summon him for questioning. Neither did they demand an explanation for such utterances. The NIB did not also find it necessary to investigate what was an explicit and direct threat to the life of Honorable Afenyo-Markin and a deliberate attempt to incite violence against him.
Well, there have been a number of these press conferences by the minority in registering their protest against the way they have been treated. They have been treated by the government. They say that they have been harassed, their rights have been trampled upon, etc., etc. So, in your shot, is the deputy minority leader who was addressing the press and was talking to Ghanaians about what they find distasteful about the way some former government appointees have been handled. And it comes in the wake of the former finance minister who has been declared a fugitive of justice by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And so of course, the former finance minister, through his lawyers, actually wrote to the Office of the First Special Prosecutor explaining that he's unwell and is seeking medical treatment abroad. But the office says that it would have none of that, and that willy-nilly, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta would have to come down and answer some questions. And so Mr. Kise Jabing was one who addressed the press conference. I hope that if we have that video, we can play that video briefly, so that those of you who didn't get the chance to watch that press conference, you can then be abreast with exactly what he said. But some of the charges that have been leveled against Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta were related to contractual arrangements between a company called the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority for the stated objective of the enhancement of revenue assurances in the downstream petroleum sector, upstream petroleum production, and minerals and metals resources value chain. The other charges include termination of a distribution, loss reduction, and associated network improvement project contracts between the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited and Beijing Zhuocheng Technology. Now, it also includes procurement of contractors and materials and activities and payments in respect of the National Cathedral project, activities and payments in respect of a contract awarded by the Ministry of Health, initially commenced by the Ministry for Special Development Initiatives to service Ghana Auto Ghana Limited for purchases and after-sales service and maintenance of some 3 107 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 305 CD I ambulances for the National Ambulance Service. Now, others are payments out of and utilization of tax refund account of Ghana Revenue Authority. The facts, according to Mr. Jabin, were that Mr. Foriata left Ghana on the grounds of January 2, 2025. He said on January 24, 2025, the OSP communicated to Mr. Foriata that the OSP considered him a suspect in respect of 4 of the cases. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, Oforiata is not considered a person of interest as far as these cases are concerned. He's actually a suspect. So what it means is that, more or less, he's a very, very important person who ought to help in unraveling. In fact, basically, you say he's been charged. He's been charged, basically. So the special prosecutor said Mr. Foriata was directed to attend in person to the OSP on Monday, February 10, 2025 at 10 a.m. for interviewing. Mr. Jabin explains that by a communication dated January 31, 2025, Mr. Foriata instructed his lawyers to inform the OSP that he was out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds and that the firm would notify the OSP of the arrival in the country and in aid of rescheduling his personal attendance to the OSP. Further, the firm offered its willingness to provide, and here I'm talking about the law firm, offered its willingness to provide the OSP with information that the OSP may require to aid in the investigations until his arrival in the country. On February 5, 2025, the SP, that's the special prosecutor, said the OSP responded to Mr. Foriata that the OSP did not need or require notification from his lawyers of his arrival in the jurisdiction. The SP said the OSP acknowledged Mr. Foriata's lawyers' gracious offer to provide the OSP with information in aid of the investigations. However, he said the OSP insisted that Mr. Foriata's personal attendance at the OSP was required. The OSP said it declined Mr. Foriata's request to be away from the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds on his way, on his say-so. Consequently, the OSP directed Mr. Foriata to indicate by close of business on Monday, February 20, 2025, a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. Mr. Jabin said the OSP warned Mr. Foriata that if he failed to do so, the OSP would take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at their own choosing. Now, so that's joining me in the studio to start a conversation on the back of all of this is Hamza Suini will be joining us. Hamza Suini is a member of the NDC's communications team, but also a lawyer. He'll be joining us shortly in the studio. Also, a man also the person will be joining us, who is from the MPP side, Mr. George Isi, who is a member of the MPP's communications team. And he will also be joining us shortly. But also joining us is what I call an academic, someone who's been in academia for a very long time. He is non-aligned. He's not NDC, he's not MPP, but he is a man who has what it takes to express his thoughts on this matter. Now, he's called Dr. Gaddafi Saibu. He's a political scientist and he's the president and CEO of the Institute for Comparative African Policy Analysis. He's also an associate researcher at the German Institute of Development and Sustainability. That's in Bonn. He is a regional expert on regimes, democracy, autocratization, social cohesion, elections, and political violence in Africa. Now, his dissertation focused on political parties, violence, youth, and electoral insecurity in Africa. It analyzes variance or variation in violence youth perpetrators type and the intensity of electoral violence across 42 African countries, 287 elections spanning 3 decades, with and integrated in-depth comparative analysis of Nigeria and Zambia. So basically, he is the president and CEO of ICAPA, okay, Institute for Comparative African Policy Analysis. So Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages on Metro Television. It's good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. And this is actually his. Oh, sorry. Yes, his mic is on. This is actually his first outing as far as media is concerned. And we had to do a lot of work to get him here because he prefers to be in the classroom teaching or sharing the knowledge privately than sharing it publicly. But fortunately, we've been able to get him to join us, so we're happy to have you join us here. Dr. Gaddafi Saibu. So I'll start with you to pick your general thoughts on how we got here. You know, because on Wednesday or so, we heard about the raiding of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's house by persons we didn't know at the time who they were, whether they were national security operators or there were some imposters, you know. And the following day, we heard the Office of the Special Prosecutor acknowledging what had happened to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, but said they had nothing to do with it. It's either maybe some imposter or some, so basically it is not. The Office of the Special Prosecutor had nothing to do with this. And then the following day, of course, that same day, it declared the finance minister wanted and gave reasons why the finance minister was being required to report to Ghana to answer some questions, and talked about how the finance minister's lawyers had said he was seeking medical treatment and so on outside. But let's start with the raid, because you also have done a lot of studies in the area of security and good governance and so on. We seem to have come full circle, where it looks like each time there's a change of government, we see these kinds of things happen, these kinds of events happen, where people's such a former appointees have their houses being raided and so on. What do you think has accounted for this? I mean, why can't we get it right as we see happen in the more advanced countries?
Okay, thank you very much, Muru. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay.
And good morning to your listeners. And then also, let me also say good morning to the people of Gambaga,
okay,
and the whole of Northeast, then Nalerugu constituency, where I come from. Good morning to everyone. Generally, let's to look at the raid at Ken's house. We must first of all look at it, put it in the context of post-electoral violence, which is now much more like post-electoral political violence.
Okay.
So because the kind of violence or attacks that we see in this country lately are not really about electoral violence. This must be made clear. They could be considered the political violence. So, because if we were to tie them to electoral violence, they would have been tied strictly to electoral contest. I mean, as to the fact that arguments regarding who wins the elections or who doesn't win. But this is not the case we always face in Ghana. We face a situation whereby after elections, we have, political party activists attacking offices, and then we also have this kind of political violence or so-called insurgency, where high official politicians, high-ranking politicians' houses are being raided. So now you've asked a very important question. What accounts for these issues? So first of all, we must look at this within the context of electoral politics, the kind of electoral politics that we play here. So if you look at the political violence that comes in the aftermath of elections, it's normally basically, before I come to the Ken issue, so we can put this one, basically it's about activists, party activists agitating. So, and this is something that is very common with the electoral system that we practice in Ghana here, and maybe comparatively to places like Zambia.
Okay.
So you see that places like Ghana and Zambia, we normally have post-electoral political violence.
Right.
And then when you compare this to places like Nigeria, Nigeria has a lot of electoral violence. It experienced high level of electoral violence, but they hardly have post-electoral political violence. That is whereby party activists are agitating to take in charge of certain offices. Now, this happens here because we have a system whereby party loyalty is very strong. We have party cadres and we have activists who are actually part of the party structures. And this is why when there's a change of power, these people are agitating to take over offices from people who they claim belong to previous administration. So, but then if you compare that to Nigeria, places like Nigeria, we have a situation in Nigeria where we do not have strong cadre politics. So the people who perpetrate electoral violence or political violence in Nigeria normally do it before elections. And these are normally not people who are aligned with strongly aligned with political parties. These are people who are much more like gangs, and they are hired. They are mostly ad hoc people who are hired to perpetrate violence to win elections for politicians. So the interest there is winning elections. But here, before elections, we hardly had this violence because cadres are well identified and aligned with political parties. And it is very easy to identify who commits what or who perpetrates which violence. So that is why we have post-electoral political violence, because they are interested in sharing the booties of that comes with power, with victory of power. So that is one thing about political violence that we need to look at. So we should look at it within the context of the kind of cadres or party activists that are involved, because they know the people they go after. They know you belong to MPP, they know you belong to PS, so it's easy for them to fish you out because they are party loyalists. Now, moving it to, and I was watching, so just when there was this many attacks in the country from so-called party activists, and Parliament sat to condemn it. I mean, within that same week, we had this violence erupting in Parliament during the vetting processes.
Yes.
So it then even tells us that our political elites would have to also assess themselves and then have to lead by examples before we can even talk about condemn political violence. Now, moving from this angle to the raid of Ken House. You know, Muru, one problem we have in this country, we are yet to recognize, is that we have to decouple the practice of governance from noise making. And this is the problem. So if it were to be any advanced country, let me tell you, Ken Ofori-Atta, right from, I mean, now you have just said it, he is a suspect. Right from the beginning, and this is just the preliminary level. And it's as if he has already been prosecuted because the noise in the country is just too much. So in a serious country, they would have even, maybe the time we would have heard about Ken, and this issue would have been at a point when maybe he is either acquitted or the verdict has been passed that he should be sent to jail or whatever. But this is the case that the case has not even started, and we have all this noise in the media and also in the country. And we have to moderate our institutions that are responsible, that are entrusted with the responsibility to actually hold public officers, public office holders accountable. They have to be worried or to moderate how they focus on this noise making as compared to the practices, the real practices. Now, why do I call this noise making? It's part of the cosmetics that we've been having in this country. And we've been practicing democracy or electoral politics for over 30 years now, since 1990. So we have reached a point where we have to start practicing and bringing tangible results, outcomes to the people instead of noise making, this cosmetic. Like you've said it, anytime there's a change of power, we've heard about raid of houses of high-profile members. What has happened to these people? Have we had tangible results or tangible outcomes out of this raid? No. But in a serious country, we won't hear any raid, but we will have tangible outcomes. So I feel the OSP has actually disassociated itself from the raid. But we don't know who is responsible for the raid.
Well, the majority leader has actually had to apologize in Parliament, and apologize on behalf of the national security.
Yeah.
It sounded a bit weird. It sounded a bit strange, though, because typically, if the national security, which is of course the state is the organ of state, the national security should at least, through either the information minister or perhaps through either the interior minister or defense minister. I mean, there should be a ministry, that should have been perhaps speaking to the matters bordering on what had happened. So for the majority leader to have done the apology or to have rendered the apology on behalf of the national security, some persons actually felt that it wasn't right. But of course, it's a matter of opinion. I don't know whether you also think it's right that the majority leader comes up to say that, well, he has done his own checks and from his sources, and he can confirm that, yes, it was the national security that undertook that exercise and that he wants to apologize unreservedly on behalf of the national security. What I don't know is whether the national security is actually sanctioned this and asked him to do it on their behalf, or he decided to take it upon himself as majority leader to do that. I'll come back to you on this whilst you're on your point about we don't know who is responsible. Hamza Sweeney has just joined us. Hamza Sweeney is a lawyer himself and also a member of the NDC's communications team. Hamza, good morning. It's good to see you.
And of course, good morning to
He was telling me off air that you guys are very good friends.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Back in the university.
Right.
It's been a while.
Yes,
my regards.
Thank you.
We've been following each other on social media.
Really?
It gives you the false impression that you are always in touch.
I know, right?
When in actual sense you are miles away.
I know.
Yeah.
The downsides of social media and how that has affected our communal living, as we used to do in the past.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll come back to you, Hamza. Yes, you're talking. So now, if what the majority leader has said is anything to go by, we can confirm, based on what the majority, of course, I don't have any reason to doubt him because he's a man of integrity and a man of credibility. So yes, we can then deduce from what he said to say that it was the national security that did it. So question is then, so what?
So it was only the right thing for the majority leader to have apologized.
Okay.
I mean, that is in line with the practice of good governance.
Okay.
And also, that is also in line with democratic consolidation in this country.
Okay.
Like I tell you, I mean, even countries that we think are not doing very well, for example, in Nigeria, they hardly experienced issues like this after elections. They have their problems before elections, but after elections, they hardly experience this. And then Ghana is a model is a beacon of hope in terms of African democracy and even in the world. So issues like this, when they happen, they contribute to democratic backlash or the retrogression of democracy. So for the majority speaker to have apologized is only in good faith with good governance, the practice of good governance, and then the progress of our democracy. In any case, like I said, from good governance perspective, those cosmetics are not necessary and they are not needed to take us anywhere. So it's important for even leaders that belong to incumbent parties that have taken over, when issues like this occur, they come out immediately and then condemn said acts, just like the majority leader has done. I mean, I wasn't surprised that he did it, because he has been a long-standing member of parliament for he has been a member of parliament for a very long time. And for him, he has passed through a lot of change of powers, passed through almost many of our electoral cycles. For him to have come to realize that we have reached a point in our democracy where said cosmetics, national ambushing of high-ranking members of former regime or former administration, those things are no longer needed. If Ken is a culprit or is a suspect, I think we should follow the institutions. The right institutions should follow, and then if there need be that he should be prosecuted, he should be prosecuted. But raiding of his house and all that, what does that bring to us? As far as good governance is concerned, nothing. it only brings negative publicity for the country. And I think it's about high time we stop that. So the majority leader apology, I mean, it's a welcoming one, and I think it was in good faith.
Would it have been better if it came from, the Minister of State in charge of government communication, or it really wouldn't matter?
I don't think that the source of it matters.
Because,
I mean,
because the majority leader does not speak for the government, strictly speaking.
Yes.
His majority leader, he is only a rep of the party in parliament, but not necessarily a spokesperson for the government. Or you think for you it's...
Moro, that's the point.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of that, you are talking about formal rules.
Yes.
But we are in Africa, and many of the things they happen in a de facto manner.
Right.
So in a de facto way, he is speaking for the government.
Right.
Because we haven't reached that point where we have been able to decouple, party in parliament from government. So his voice is the strong voice in government. Many people are even advocating that the majority leader should be made part of the cabinet members of the executive. So it tells you that his voice counts very well. And then once he speaks, it relates. It can be linked to the incumbent government. And there's no need that we have to wait to get opinion from the government or Minister of Communication and whatever. So this is very fine.
Okay, that's fine. I want us to then look at the issue in its proper context there, and I'm going to bring in, for one of our resource persons has joined us, Mr. George A.C., who is also a member of the MPP's communications team. George, good to see you. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Moro.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Is this your first time on Inside Pages?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no, you've committed. It's a big crime you've committed.
And
you have to apologize.
Mostly I go to the village, the constituency, and I've been telling you. Yeah.
Okay, that's to visit family.
Yeah. No, yes, family.
Oh, you have a big
family,
farm there.
Yes, family and other things.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, mostly weekends I try to go and
touch base with the family.
That's the word. Touch base.
Yeah, very important.
And the constituency.
Important. Do you get to drink? You go to the farm and feed on some of the crops.
Sometimes the rural ambience is also something that you get closer to nature.
Of the hustle and bustle of Accra.
Yes. You get
anyway,
closer to the
the
serene conditions there.
Very, very important. Yeah. Very, very important. I mean, Hamza does that quite often, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, he frequents his visitations to family.
Yes. He has a different plan altogether.
He's one person who never forgets. He never forgets his roots and his beginnings. And so the guys, they love him to bits. They love him. They love him so very much. I mean, are people like that when you seem to be going above the socio-economic ladder, and yet you don't forget that this is where you're coming from?
Side, your brother has taken there already. Like Abu and John.
Yes.
No, not the MPP, but you get it. Mother's constituency, father's constituency.
Anyway, so let's do this. Gaddafi, this is my final question to you before I come to you. And I'm asking you this question because I saw a write-up by Hamza, and I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I want to look for that write-up because it falls squarely in line with what is currently happening. And Hamza writes about, I think it was in the wake of, yes. Now, he says, Honorable Ayarega Haruna and Ahiafo's reflection versus Afenyo Markin Dompre and the MPP. Now, it's a very interesting write-up, and I've been reading it time and time and again. And it's it resonates with quite a number of NDC, sympathizers and foot soldiers and so on. It's a certain feeling that they have. And maybe when I'm done with this, you'll be able to put your concluding remarks in its proper perspective before I bring in Hamza. And I'm sure he's the original composer of the song, so I'll ask him what may have triggered this write-up. Okay. But listen to what he said. He said, in every institution the NDC finds itself, its main preoccupation is how to preserve it in the interest of the nation. That is, even if such preservation injures its own party. Okay, it is always Ghana first. Now, on the contrary, the MPP pretends to preserve same until there is a conflict between same and its party interests. They will never hesitate to sacrifice national interest for party interest. To understand how Ayariga, Honorable Haruna, and Honorable Ahayafo stands, one needs to view it from the above lens. Now, these stands are not rooted in weakness or compromise, but what they think is proper in their quest to preserve Parliament. On the contrary, the MPP's partisan stance makes the nationalistic stance of our leaders appear unacceptable to our party base, and hence the attacks, justified or not, one party and its members must necessarily take the bitter pill of standing for the public. It's about a 5-page, not 5-page, but a 5-paragraph or 6-paragraph write-up. I'm not going to read everything because it's here. But how did this come up? I mean, I recall it must have been in the wake of the parliamentary vetting, right? And the whole talk about the MPP showing, the NDC showing weakness. Ahayafo is not standing his ground, he's allowing the Afenyomakin to have his way, and so on and so forth. So it was as if the NDC's whole posture during the appointments committee work was more of what would make the minority happy, and not necessarily what would make their base happy. And he was trying to explain through this write-up why things appear the way they do. Fact of the matter is that, whereas you talk about you're preaching good governance, the party foot soldiers, as we're being told, are happy with things like these raids. You understand? Because they will also tell you that when the MPP came to power, they did 10 times what we're beginning to see today. So there are people who have actually voted for the NDC because waiting for them is about vengeance. There are people who have actually contributed money to get the MPP to win elections because they are looking for this type of vengeance. Okay? So you talked about the fact that once politics is over and a party comes to government, it's about governance. But questioning is that there are human beings who are voting for you. If they don't share in this sentiment, they don't share in this view, you can get it right and you lose elections. You can build all the roads, you build all the, give water, give electricity, blah, blah, blah. But your party, your base is demoralized. Remember, it's not everybody who votes necessarily because of bread and butter. Yes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a background. Ayariga's apology, many people are very disappointed. And when I read social media comments, may not necessarily be scientific, and I'm just based on social media comments. A lot of NDC folks are very disappointed with Mahama Ayariga's apology. And I'm sure Hamza will be in a very good position to try and help us understand why these sentiments are being expressed. So I don't know whether you have any concluding remarks to make on this before I come to Hamza, and then George will also come in. So what do you make of this? Party interest, governance, how do you balance it?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, that's just a gap between political leadership and also grassroots.
Right.
And this is a problem with all the parties in this country. And they have to take a clue or to be guided by this. So now, if you observe how the evolution of our electoral politics, you made something important. You might have realized now that every party, every serious party that is interested in sustaining power would not be so much concerned, would not only be only concerned about satisfying foot soldiers or its core members. It would be also mindful about the so-called floating voters. For example, the MPP, the MPP foot soldiers or its core members share almost all the actions, the sentiment of the MPP. But did they win? And the political elites actually satisfied them with this. Did they win? So what parties have come to realize is that your core members or core foot soldiers alone is not enough to win electoral victory. And I think the NDC action in parliament now is just because they are being guided by what has happened to the MPP. Bear in mind that there was a lot of disenchantment about the fact that the MPP is not a listening government, it's not listening to grassroots and all that. But the MPP was listening. Do you know the people, the kind of audience that the party was listening to? It was listening to its grassroots supporters, its core members. But these members alone is no longer enough. There is now a convergence in our body politic whereby it's becoming very difficult. I mean, watch the elections now. How many strongholds are now becoming swing constituencies or swing holes? Because of the increased number of some sort of neutrals in our politics or floating voters. So there is that sort of increase in middle class group in this our body politic, and they are becoming not so aligned with politics. So what Ayariga, the NDC membership in parliament is doing is actually they have been guided by statement of Ghanaians, and they want to listen to a broader.
How do you know? How do you know? How can you tell if the middle class are not happy?
Sorry about that. How do you know, or how are you able to tell if the middle class are not happy with the approach to dealing with accountability?
Yes.
How do you know?
You can tell. You can tell, I mean, by observing through sometimes write-ups and also through the media.
Okay.
I mean, not so much focusing on I mean, your internal communication or food soldier group or grassroots. You have to observe broadly. You observe the sort of public sentiment. And this is what the former administration or the MPP government, I mean, failed to do. And look at how it landed where it landed them. So the MPP, the NDC in parliament, even if you look at the vetting committee, honestly, the behavior of the chairman is not to satisfy MPP, but to satisfy Ghanaians. Because they've reached a point whereby it's like Ghanaian audience, voting audience are looking for very objective assessment of everybody, regardless of your political lineage. So if the vetting committee, the chairman had actually become like a jack of all trades, or he becomes the so-called Mugabe of the vetting committee, of course, he will please the food soldiers or the grassroots of the NDC, but he will displease a section of Ghanaians that have a voice, and that makes up.
But Doc, isn't that with every decision you take in life?
That is with every decision. Every decision has a trade-offs, and you have to make the trade-offs.
Right.
So we have reached a point, and this is the trade-off I'm telling you.
Okay.
We have reached a point in Ghana whereby any political parties that is only interested in satisfying its food soldiers will not go anywhere.
Will go anywhere. Okay.
They are very important because they are the core members. They form core membership of the party.
Okay.
But bear in mind that the floating voting population is increasing.
Yes.
And if you deceive yourself that you are going to remain within the lane of your core voting support, you will lose elections.
Okay. Hamza, I mean, there's some history and background to this, isn't it? I mean, in 2009, I mean, you were old enough, and you're one of those who was not happy to a very large extent with the posture of the then government, the Mills government, because it was a similar thing. Ghana first. There were MMDCs who were left in government for a very long time, must have been 6 months or so. The President Mills's posture at the time was, it was all about Ghana. We're all brothers and sisters, let's live in peace and forget about the past and so on. And Rawlings at the time warned him and said, look, you're dealing with a different group of people. That's not how Ghana or African politics has been played. You were one of those who also felt that, look, things could have been done much better. Are we back to the 2009? And do you have any concerns? I mean, and what may have triggered this write-up that you put out? A very interesting and a very poignant one indeed.
I think, Moro, good morning to our cherished viewers and, of course, to my colleagues in the studio and to you and the production team. You see, I do not think that we are back to the 2009 era. Era, to be honest with you, because we are not having a situation where MMDCs are being asked to stay at post for 6 months or more. I think one of the first actions His Excellency President Mahamat took was simply to ask that they vacate posts, because this is a sensitive part of our government. One would have expected, probably, that things were done a bit differently.
Yeah.
But like you indicated, we are dealing with a political party that, since its emergence in '92, seemed not to be willing to more or less move in an acceptable manner with the entire country. So there are certain decisions these days you have to take, not just because you detest the politics of the NPP, but because you are charged by the constitution and laws of this country to ensure that you protect the sanctity of our institutions. I'm not sure that any decent-minded Ghanaian would have a problem if MMDCs are left at post until new ones are appointed by a new government. But clearly, we are dealing with a political party that has demonstrated over the years that it is not ready to move in tandem with our expectations and laws, and also to move along with modernity as far as democratic governance is concerned. So you have no choice Because if you leave them there, they are going to cause problems for you. They are going to engage in activities they are not supposed to engage in. And at the end of the day, accountability becomes difficult. So I'm sure that guided by the experience, that is why President Mahama this time around decided not to reflect the Mills's ideology of keeping them there for a while, but getting them out of power. But you see, Moro, remember that during that time, yes, I agree, most of us joined President Rawlings in criticizing the Mills Mahama administration, then when Mahama was vice president, because you can forgive us. Our training was rooted in radicalism. We were birthed by a revolutionary organization, that is the PNDC, AFRC PNDC. So for many of us who supported these ideals, the only way out of our challenges as a country, we thought that was through the radical means. We never paid attention to the fact that even in the formation of our political party, the National Democratic Congress, we did not adopt a P for party like most other parties. We adopted a Congress. And our understanding of the Congress was simply that, look, you were likely to have radical elements in there. You were likely to even have MPP people who were disappointed with the politics of the PP and MPP and join us, and to a very large extent, CPP. So what I have always argued is happening within the NDC is that at every turn of events, you have a conflict of interest amongst these various backgrounds. The radicals from the revolutionary era, of which many of us subscribe to, then there's somehow cool heads from the CPP and perhaps the PPP.
Call them the moderates.
Yes, the moderates from the PPP stock, Progress Party stock. They have come together to form the NPP. So at any point in time, one leg of it has political power. You see it reflecting. And I'm sure that is why we saw the kind of leadership President Mills gave, because he was coming from the CPP stock. Jerry Rawlings came from the revolutionary spirit, so his modus operandi was entirely different. President Mahama was caught in the mix. So he was like an umpire, a bridge between that revolutionary wing and that of the calm, collected angle of President Rawlings, Mills. So today, as president, you can see that reflection. Where he needs to demonstrate that radical undertones, it is done. Where he needs to demonstrate that moderateness, it is done. And that is what we need to understand as NDC people. And you see, Moro, you've asked an important question. Why did I go the way I went? You see, look, President Mahama and the NDC promised to reset this country. What it simply meant then, and even now, is that we were not going to do things the way the NPP did them. In 2016, when they won power, they used the military. They harassed our former appointees. Indeed, I was listening, I think about a day, that was yesterday, how the Honorable John Jinapor recounted what he went through and his children in the hands of state security, largely because they came into his house uninvited under the guise of carrying out an investigation. It was done to the Honorable James Ajenim Boatin, now acting MD of State Insurance Corporation. It was done to the late Daniel Batidan. Indeed, he was actually dead when they went to attack his home. His family was still mourning him. It was done to many of our appointees. Even the Honorable Ayarga was no exception. So, clearly, this was what we detested, and we condemned it then. We said that the state institutions should have been allowed to work. And these were not people who were running out of the country. And a simple invitation would have secured their attendance at our investigative, at the premises of our investigative bodies. That was not done. So if President Mahama promised a reset, I can understand the justifiable anger from our grassroots to demonstrate same by using the state institutions and going after them. But we promised an agenda to reset, and that promise was not made to the NDC people alone. It was made to the entirety of Ghanaians. And so we must be seen reflecting that. And if we made a promise that we intend to more or less expand the frontiers of our democratic governance, this is the bitter pill we have to swallow. So we cannot go about doing things the same way. In all honesty, there's absolutely nothing wrong with inviting Ken Oforiatta to appear before our state investigative bodies to be investigated. I do not, as a Democrat, I do not subscribe to the use of military men especially to conduct such investigations, especially when there's no evidence that the people are engaged in any acts that could be deemed as injurious to the democratic stability of our country. They are not engaged in plotting of coups and what have you. It is simply issues of accountability. And so if you have concerns, let us use our state institutions to do so. I have always said that, look, the NDC people, we should be careful not to start chipping away the goodwill of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. These are some of the things that can chip it away. Because you take it for granted and you feel like it's tit for tat. But to the majority of the Ghanaian people, they expect progress. They expect change. They expect acceptable accountability. They are not telling you not to ensure accountability, but do it in ways that rights are protected in line with our constitution and our laws. That is what is expected. Look, these stands, Moro, would hurt many of our grassroots. They would be disappointed in our posture. But that is the tax of leadership.
You're getting calls already.
Yes, that is the tax of leadership. Look, when in senior secondary school, I'm sure you remember this book, Animals Farm, yes, written by Eric Attablab, but because of political reasons, he had to come under the name George Orwell.
Right.
And for me, one thing stood out, and my colleagues will tell you, it was one of my favorite quotes in school. Leadership is not a pleasure. On the contrary, it is a deep and heavy responsibility. And Rawlings gave a beautiful summary of it, where he said that leadership is tedious, but incumbent task ahead for all those who have the political aim of succeeding in life. I understood from the word go that when you are mandated to lead, there are certain decisions you would take that would even be disappointing to those who gave you that power. And that is the stage we are in. We cannot begin to behave just like our grassroots. The kind of exposure we have had as political appointees, the kind of experience we have had over the years, we must bring it to bear in providing leadership even to our grassroots. If we cannot provide acceptable leadership to the grassroots and change their ways and perceptions as far as governance is concerned, then we have no business garnering to be leaders of this country in the first place, because leadership must be demonstrated at home. So the MPP failed to demonstrate that leadership. President John Dramani Mahama is committed to demonstrating that leadership. And our grassroots must begin to appreciate that. I can understand their justifiable anger. It's justified. That, look, these people did this to you people. They didn't do it to me. Our grassroots will tell you that, look, I was not a political appointee. Some of us are angry because of how some of you were treated. So we expect you to behave in like manner. But we cannot continue to run this country that way.
But the question is, I've heard some people ask, which is, it takes two to tango. You want to put up a nationalistic stance, but then it ought to take the two of you.
I agree. But you see,
to go on that tangent.
You see, if we are going to follow the politics of the NPP, then this country would not progress. So that is why I indicated that where President Mahama needs to bite the bullet, he does. That is why investigations are ongoing. Nobody has said anywhere that those military officers who besieged the home of Ken Ofreata were not engaged in any investigation. We all know. The state security has not denied that they were engaged in investigations. And so we know that the state apparatus is working. But largely, for all you know, what is occasioning this discussion is because of the nature of the entry.
Okay.
Because we did not know that investigations were ongoing.
Right.
And so if you wake up in the morning and you hear that military men have besieged your home, of course, some fear and panic here and there. So I'm sure that is what they went through and decided to make it public because they had the CCTV cameras.
All right.
But I can assure you that many other state officials have been visited. Okay. In some cases, not by the military, by just the CID unit of the police, what's the name, Ghana Police Service. And that is what is happening. Okay. But Moro, as for the apology of our majority leader,
where do you stand?
Oh, I can understand Ayaraga and the reason why he gave that apology, like I indicated, in line with good governance. But then again, I honestly thought that it should have been done differently.
Okay.
In the sense that, like you indicated, the Honorable Majority Leader is not the Minister for Interior.
Right.
He's not the Minister for Defense. As we speak today, we have those ministers in place. They have been sworn into office by His Excellency the President. So if the Honorable Majority Leader expected or thought it prudent to have an explanation of government, I would have thought that the best way to handle it would have been to quickly bring that to the attention of the Speaker so that these ministers are invited to come and make an official statement in Parliament regarding the ongoing investigations. But to have gone with it the way he did, I found it a little bit problematic and not in tandem with good governance practices.
Right.
Because he is not the Minister of Interior, he is not the Minister of Defense. And so to even proceed to apologize, we do not know whether indeed the Minister of Interior or Defense found those acts unacceptable. For all you know, there's a strategy that they are unveiling. So for me, that is where I found it a little bit troubling. But Moro, again, you can understand the National Democratic Congress and the leaders we have. We are tired of the politics of vindictiveness. We are tired of mortgaging the future of young ones because of the kind of politics we play. That is the NPP and NDC.
You do
Some of us feel strongly, and I know, I've had discussions with the Honorable Ayerga. I know his perception about how politics in this country should be run. Nobody is a radical more than the Mahama Ayerga. We know. You know Moro. You know him. But for him to have taken this poster, not just recently, you've noticed that for years now, the Ayerga we used to know of 2000 and before 2008 is no more the Ayerga we are dealing with. He has matured. He has become more responsive. He understands that there is the need for this country to change. The NPP may not appreciate that, but we must continue to give them that example.
Okay.
In the hope that in the not too distant future, many of them would begin to appreciate that this country needs to move on in a way that is acceptable to all.
Right.
But we should not do so under the problematic guise of protecting each other as politicians, because that would also be dangerous.
I agree.
Because you see, there seems to be a certain narrative, Moro, that look, scratch my back and I scratch your back. So when you are leaving power, don't be harsh. And when I'm leaving power too, I wouldn't be harsh to you. That seems to be the impression we are creating on the minds of the Ghanaian people. And to a very large extent, most of our grassroots supporters. And I think that is why they are a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You see, because if Afenyo Martin would get up in Parliament and draw and seek to fetch into examples between the Jinapos, it gives you a certain impression that it is more or less like, let us reach an understanding where you can stand here and I'll stand on the other side of the political divide and we can begin to reach some compromises. That is not what we want.
Okay.
If there are witches in the system, they must be hunted, irrespective of the relationship between two people.
Right.
So we are calling for civil politicking, but we are not calling for compromise. That would enable the political parties and actors to continue to feed on the meager resources of this country.
We will delve more into the substantive issue, which has to do with the OSP's declaration of Mr. Kenneth Furata as a fugitive. We haven't even dealt in that yet, because there was an event leading up to the OSP's presser, and so we'll come to that. But let me just say that those of you who want to share your thoughts or your opinions on what we're talking about, or it's just a contribution you want to make, 0249-155-646, 0249-155-646. That's your WhatsApp line. Please do share your thoughts, share your comments through that line. We want to hear what you also think about the raid, whether you thought it was in bad taste or that's the kind of approach that we need in our governance. And of course, there's a more fundamental question which has been asked, whether we should have a template on how to handle these things, so that when I'm a former government official, I know that when government is looking for me, wants me to be accountable for something, these are the laid down procedure. So there's some kind of certainty. At the moment, it's become very discretionary, as to how government intends to deal with it. 0249-155-646, that's the WhatsApp line. Please do share your thoughts and your comments with us. George, let me also get your thoughts about, broadly, the posture of the two political parties. The NDC is, as you heard him claiming that, look, they're more nationalistic in their approach to doing things. You guys are more partisan. You would never sacrifice your partisan interest for the sake of Ghana.
That's one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard in political communications.
Tell me why.
Very ridiculous.
Why do you disagree? What are your reasons?
Very ridiculous.
Okay.
Anyway, good morning to you, good morning to my co-panelists, and good morning to our viewers. It's good to be on your set. I've sat around this table before, but on other discussions.
Okay.
Yes, I think officially today is my first time being on your show.
Yeah, and we're hoping to see you.
Yeah, I'll be. Yes, I'll be. No, even after that, you know, it's been. Yeah, Moru. The issues that we've touched on, I want my brother counsel to accept that we are in a democratic dispensation. And there are certain things that hitherto were done in the revolutionary days that must be eschewed. Okay? And unfortunately, that is what has fed into our democratic dispensation. We've all heard President Mahama, His Excellency, saying, if it's about radicalism and whatever, the NDC is the one that knows how to do that best. So I don't know how my brother will be postulating that they are a calmer party and all that. You get it? Yeah. They have the umbilical cord tied to the revolution. And so they do. And Moro, how do you explain that the grassroots of a political party that has won power, you have power, are moving from offices to offices, vandalizing and intimidating people? And that is what you say is a calm, responsible political party? Is that what my brother is saying? Where does this happen? He's sojourned in the United Kingdom. Is that how it happens there? Huh? You have the power of states. You've been given the authority. Okay? You will be, if I'm not supposed to remain in my position as Director of Communications for an agency, definitely once the Director General is appointed, I'll be officially written to. True or false? As it's being done. The President is writing to all CEOs of state agencies. Right. Rightly so. Okay, even though there's a court ruling about some of those things. Okay, but I think commonsensically it's proper, trite and proper moral, that once an administration appointed you to head an institution, and that administration is no more there, commonsensically, you don't need to be there. But the proper thing must be done. Due process must be followed through. So that is what we are. And it's unfortunate that it keeps, I'm not going to sit here and say that that radical approach going to people's homes didn't happen in the as it did. Okay? In fact, yesterday I watched a video. It was clear vendetta that somebody led in the breaking down of a home when power changed some time back. And so the moment they won power, they went straight to the guy's place and whipped him like a child.
When did you see this video?
Yesterday night.
And when did this happen?
It happened within this time.
Really?
Yes. Yesterday night.
Let me have a look at the video.
Don't worry.
You know, these days, people send old videos and make it seem as though it's current.
Wow, what is
But how do you know if this happened presently? Or is that it's not an old video? You know, we should be careful with.
I know the person.
Oh, you know the person.
I know the person.
That's fine.
You know
I know the. Okay, that's fine.
He was whipped like a baby. And they told him, in fact, his boy who showed me the video and said, George, they told him, pull out pistol and said, we are not ready to kill you now. Your time will come. He was whipped. I'm not making this up. Okay? So it's not, but I agree with counsel. It's not everybody that has that vengeance, vendetta mindset. You get it? But a lot of people have that. Moving from office, Ghana gas, you go there, you came to my place twice. Okay? And all that. Why? And you said that is a calm demeanor, good governance practice. It cannot be the case, Boru. It cannot be the case. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Look, but yes, there will be processes. People might have done some things wrong. They ought to be brought to account for that. There are procedures and processes for that. Okay? Sometimes people want to show power. We want to show where power lies. Okay? Who wills the power? So let's go there. And again, the propaganda angle. The NDC is mired in propaganda. Okay? And so some of these things will send a signal to the nation. As he said, they want to please their grassroots. You get it? So we want them to see that we are in charge. But you know what is contributing mostly to these things? Well, the NDC prior to the election had sided their people that the MPP was going to rig the election. Okay? And so the people's resistance mentality was what was put in place. Unfortunately, there was nothing like rigging. The people's will manifested. And so the energies and co had to be invented somewhere. You get it? That resistance thing had to be, vented. And so then they had to do something. Okay? That is what culminated in all these things. So it's unfortunate that we are where we are after 32 years of democratic practice. 32 years. NDC has come, MPP. What is it again? There are process. People go to courts. Okay? 46 dockets. President Mahama, Betty Moldy Idris, they took those things to court and not a single conviction was gotten. And yet, we still say people have stolen, blah, 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 and all that. So, let's allow the due process to go on. In Parliament, you see, it's been the practice, and Council knows, Gaddafi knows, that the minority, that's been the procedure. It's the minority that have been very pushy when it comes to vetting. As we speak, Council here, his big brother, who be in Jubilee House lobby.
For what?
For what? We want to sleep. Ask him if he's sleeping.
Lobbying for what? Well, he's a deputy minister in charge of roads and highways.
No, I'm coming. Before then,
he was
one of the. He's one of the people who have punchy questions. You know that?
Yes, of course.
Yes, but at this time, he will not be pushing those punchy questions because he has to be in Jubilee. You get it? And two, he knows, the council knows, and Gaddafi knows. Moro, you know that it would be ludicrous for you, member of parliament on the ticket of the majority and the governing party, for the president to bring my brother Hamza before us here, and you begin to raise nasty radical questions against him, and yet you are waiting to be appointed a minister as well. You think your people will be comfortable with you? No. So it's the mind. Sometimes they push the questions to us. That is the truth. You think every question Apenyo asks is his own imagined question?
It's politics. We know how complex politics is.
It could be my brother Hamza if he message one to him. I'm not saying so. It could be.
Hamza on pen WhatsApp.
You get it. But you see, some questions may be given by the other side of asking this question.
But it's not in doubt.
Yes. So he has made himself the savior of the nation to push the relevant questions.
Right.
And I tell you, a survey by Musa Dankwa is saying over 67% approval rate for minority leaders line of questioning and others. Okay? It's even low. It should have been hitting 89. You get, because people feel, look, they have the power. And as we say, they have the overwhelming goodwill of Ghanaians. That is the truth. Because for whatever reason, we became so unpopular at the end of the day. But I didn't believe we were going to lose the election. But the results showed me that we got to a point that people were not even happy with us. You get it? And so the results indicated that that was it. And this government has the goodwill of the people. And so that's how come sometimes when some people here are very pushy, they are not comfortable because they feel there's the goodwill. So why is he trying to? And I agree with counsel that if they don't take time, they'll be chipping away the goodwill. And soon, more than soon, and they're chipping it away with this clearing agent tag. Okay, so that is another point. I don't believe that the Mahama administration is being magnanimous with anybody. No. They've come with brute force and they've shown their intentions, how they are going to deal with the matters. And I agree. Why? Why should you say DC should remain in office for what? How long? No. There's a change in government. And I agree with Hamza, council, that once there's a change in government, they are political heads. They are representing the president in the district. The president is no more in power. Hand over to the district coordinating director.
And I'm sure you're one of those who's disappointed that some of your appointees who are still in the various agencies waiting to be dismissed.
Oh no, I'm also waiting to be dismissed.
Oh. You're still an admin.
I'm waiting to be dismissed.
Oh, why? Are you saying they should resign?
There's procedure. No,
Okay.
I'm talking the political,
Political head.
the district chief executive.
Okay.
It's a political head.
Yes, but yours is okay.
Yes, you get it.
You are just a director of communication.
Yes, so mine.
Yeah, but what are you waiting for?
No, I'm in the organization.
Okay.
So when they come, there should be official procedure. Okay. I was seconded to the plea. Okay. So I need to be released and then I go back.
Okay. But if you're not released, you can't release yourself.
Oh, it means you are resigning.
Yes.
Because when I go back, I went to my institution. They said I
Yes.
should get the letter and bring it.
Okay.
But there's no director general to write that.
Okay, so you're waiting.
Yes, so I'll get it and then move back. Okay.
But if you're offered an opportunity to continue to work with that move, would you?
No, he wouldn't be offered that. Don't let us not go there.
I'll take a shot.
I want my
No, Hamza says if that happens, he will protest. Personally, he will protest. I'll take a short break.
Let me finish.
I need to take a break now. I beg you.
Okay, so
I'll come back to you. No, I'll be fair to you. Oh no, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Thank you.
I'll take a short break. This is Inside Pages. We'll be right back.
Fire pomudi ni agobio Ghana fu ni age efi say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de gumi jollof mu ni mi sti wa hodoma e ma ne dance
Stanley the barbecue they go on
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural said the happen
Adofo mamunye huge mistake sankofa natural spices the
FDA ejedi nkratu yatu.
You the answer to my prayers. You with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know. Tonight.
All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. I'm here with Hamza Suhaini, who is a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's communications team. I'm also here with Dr. Gaddafi Saibu, who is also a political scientist, a man of many parts as well. And if I start now, I'm not going to end. But let me just say he's a political scientist. He's a governance analyst as well. And George A.C. is here. He's a member of the MPP's communications team. We're looking at governance generally, and whether we're making progress or we're retrogressing. And if we're retrogressing, what do we need to do? If you're making progress, how do we sustain it? It's about the raid on Ken Oforiatta's house, and the question it raises about when are we going to stop this subculture of people's homes being raided anytime a party loses power and a new one comes on board. We're trying to see how we can navigate around this, and that's the discussion. George, you were on the floor.
Yeah, you said we'll come to the OSP.
Yeah, we'll come to that's the most substantive issue.
In the political arena, I disagree with my brother counsel that we are not nationalistic. Okay. I disagree. That's why I say it's preposterous and ridiculous. But having said that, there are two key sectors of the economy or the nation that when they rise against you, it's difficult to hold on to power. The CSOs and the media. The CSOs and the media. And it got to a point, I'm on platforms with some CSO leaders, a lot of them including Adam Bona, Franklin Kujo, Professor Jampu and others, right? And getting to the election, the commentaries, if they put 10 commentaries there, in fact, 9.5 didn't favor the MPP. And I was asking, what's the, but I resisted, I made sure I defended my party's position and all that. But ultimately, when results came, then I saw, wow, it's reflected the feelings of the grounds. And so that is what they were doing. And these things send us the right signal. Moro, how on earth can anyone justify this raiding? I agree with counsel that my good friend and brother John Jinapo's house was raided some time ago, and some other individuals, because, as I said, because of that revolution. Because the revolution did a lot of things to those people on the other side. So for them
was also payback time.
Yes. So when they got power, they also felt, okay, have a taste of it. You get it? So in the initial stages, they were happening. But 32 years down the line, we need to reflect. And what shocked me most was Jakpa leading that to Ufuriate's house.
Can we confirm that?
Yes, there's a video, commentaries everywhere.
Yeah.
Is the one.
Anyway,
So,
Jakpa.
I was asking, is he in what locus? Is he part of the national security now? Officially appointed a national security person? Because I know he's a retired army officer. So is he officially part of the national security? What is his portfolio? Let's know that. And when he got there, I got scared. When he went back to the camp, pulled a pistol and cocked it. Then I said, what's happening? You get it? So this person, if he is not an official national security person, in what locus was he doing that? Revenge time or what? Payback time? It didn't send the right signal. It wasn't nice. And on my good friend and brother, Mama Yariga, I've had a close shave with him before and all that. He's a nice person, as he said. He was a radical. And he knows, in our political system, Moro, we have the hawks and we have the doves.
True.
Which you refer to as the moderates. I'm a moderate, I'm a dove.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Because
you've
just displayed some level of some hawkish behavior. Small.
You get it. So with that,
okay.
and he's right. Sometimes you need to satisfy all the parties. You get it. But in when I sit on any political platform doing my communication, my target is actually the middle class and the upper class. You get it? The grassroots, we have people whose communications appeal to the grassroots. And as you said, the grassroots core cannot give us power.
True.
But we need them. And so we need to have people who reach out to the middle class. Dr. Gaddafi here, okay, he will listen to good reason and comment. And your line of argument, he will not say because you are MPP. No. Tell him something that will convince him to believe that the two options, yours is better.
Right.
You get it? So those people, they are the independents and they make the change for us. Whether MPP will be in power or NDC will be, those in the US, the independents, they call them. So these people are critical. And so if you are communicating, you are not targeting them, you are in trouble. Because your core, as I said, sometimes I have backlash. They say you are too soft. They'll tell me, you are laughing and you are too soft. They tell me sometimes. You get it? Yes. And sometimes too, when it's hard, they say, yeah, today, I realize why.
You mean this business is a very difficult one.
Yeah, so in all, I think it was not prudent.
Okay.
And I thought Mahama Yariga apologized because I want to assume that the issues were raised on the floor of Parliament.
Yes.
You get it? And so he was taking the heat at that time. I agree with counsel that he could have asked for time to contact executives and then see the position of the executives. Because there was then information that the defense minister was not aware of that raid. The interior minister was not aware. You get it? So then, who deployed them? We suspect it's the OSP. We suspect, even though he even said Oferiata staged it and all that. How could he? When Jakpa is leading,
So they said, they said it could have either been staged or it was an imposter action.
Can you imagine?
To put it
but we'll come to the details of that. So I thought that's the reason Mahama Ayariga did that apology, but he could have waited and contacted government or executive before making that. But he wanted to take the heat off.
That's fine. So let's do this. Now we're going to, we have 25 minutes more to go, so we have to get into the more substantive issue. I mean, none of us speaks for OFC, but we're just going to analyze it. Doc, do you have anything quickly you want to say so that Hamza can come in with starts with his own take on the kind of Farata matter? Do you have any quick contributions you want to make, or you would allow them to take a second bite before you come in? You've heard the two of them. Any quick thoughts you want to add? Sorry, your microphone, please switch it. Yeah. No, on both what they've said so far.
No, I mean, generally, to conclude with what they've said is that, I mean, it's clear from both perspectives that our electoral politics has evolved up to a stage where we need to target broader audience. But what's missing in the political party activities in Ghana is a disconnect between what the elite stands for and what the grassroots stand for. And that has to do with the party's own problem of strategizing. So any serious party that is interested in making strategy would be much more concerned about how it communicates whether it wants to take a national interest stand or strategy, or it wants to take whatever partisan strategy to communicate that to the grassroots. So most of the times the elites have their own mind with what they want to do, but the grassroots doesn't know. So, for example, we are talking about the NDC interest, taking the national interest and all that. And we are the NDC is gradually getting there. Or as a country, we are getting there. How are they doing this strategy? How are they carrying the grassroots along with this strategy? So the grassroots must be communicated to, and they should be told that this is how we want to, the direction in which we want the party to tow. So that it won't be like a surprise when they see national or political elites making this statement, then they also at their level start taking them on. So this has to be...
All right, so your quick thoughts on Kenneth Frater being declared a fugitive. You've watched the OSP. You've watched the special prosecutor himself, Kizijabi, when he addressed the press. Some say it's populism, some say it's showmanship, some say it's trial by media. And that this is going to, it will come to naught. I mean, the man says, I'm seeking medical attention. You want me to appear before you as a suspect? I can't because I may even undergo some surgical procedure. And that even the term or the descriptor, fugitive, has damaged my image. Why are you doing this to me? Put all of this in perspective briefly for us before I bring in Hamza.
Exactly. So, I mean, you have said it. I mean, in the Fourth Republic, like he just mentioned, we have been practicing electoral democracy for over, now 32 years.
Yes.
Have you ever heard anybody declared a fugitive? So this is the first time in the Fourth Republic. So that suggests that the scandal is one of the biggest scandal we've had so far the alleged scandal. If this was to be mentioned anywhere in a serious country, anywhere in the world, it would be one of the most serious scandals. Is a fugitive for declaring somebody, and this is just not any other person than somebody who was in charge of the public purse of the country. So declaring him a fugitive, it signals, for me, it signals the weight of the case or the allegations that have been alleged against him.
Or the gravity of the charges.
The gravity of the charges. So, but then going forward, I would come back to also the noise-making aspect that I've been talking, and then I pitch it against our institutions. So if the institutions were to be working, so effectively and efficiently, I feel at this material moment, the OSP doesn't need to hold the press conference to declare him a fugitive. We are at a preliminary stage of the cases, and I would have wished, I would have wanted to hear this issue or hear him declare a fugitive would have been when the prosecutions have started. But it hasn't started. And then just at the initial level, he has been declared a fugitive. And this is something huge. Now, the question that we should ask ourselves is that why will the OSP declare him a fugitive at this moment? The excuse is that, they are looking for him and they are not getting him. But there are channels that he could have repeatedly resorted to. But my suspicion is that the OSP is also, this case stands to be one of the most important cases that would test the integrity of the OSP. And apparently this is why he's in the rush. And there are two things involved here. The other things, I really didn't see why he should consider it. But maybe we are in this country, and then most of the things we don't follow paper, or we don't follow what is written. Now, I look at the appointing authority of the OSP. That regime is gone. And now a new administration has come. Is it a tendency for the OSP to cut the attention of the current regime or the current administration? Or is it the fact that the OSP feels that if he doesn't do some of these things, he's not secure? But that shouldn't be the case, because, he's...
And there's a third possibility, which is that he now feels a bit more emboldened to do their work, because remember, they've complained bitterly in the past about how they've not been allowed to do their work. Remember the last, I don't know whether you watched it, but the last outing of the special prosecutor, he was talking about fetters that were being put in his way to be able to do their job.
Exactly.
And so the public should understand it when perhaps they are not delivering to their expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a third possibility.
Yes. So, but with all this, and the one aspect is about also satisfaction of the public.
Okay.
The OSP, bear in mind that he has been under public scrutiny and public criticism. So he's not only interested even in cutting the eye of the president, but also the public. And now, with the outcome of the elections results, he knows very well that, a large percentage of Ghanaians have fallen out with the former administration because of all this issue. So, this is apparently what has initiated the rush to declare the former finance minister a fugitive of justice. But I would have wanted him to work silently, so that, because Ghanaians have reached a stage where they are looking for tangible outcomes. And you see, there is also going to be a backlash in the fight against corruption in this country. Bear in mind that they've just submitted oral report. And the oral report is huge. It's a lot of things. And then a lot of them would be drawn to the attention of the OSP. And now also in the public. And then we have also this issue of Ken Ofori-Atta and all that. The fact is that, how are we going to balance this against public expectations? Should there be a delay in the delivery of justice on all these cases?
Okay.
So in a nutshell, I feel, yes, the media is important to make noise, to let Ghanaians be abreast with what's going on. Yeah. But I feel the OSP should follow the institutional procedures and then work silently, so that by the time we are hearing of the OSP, maybe we are hearing that Ken Ofori-Atta is being prosecuted.
Okay.
We didn't hear anything about Opuni and Co, but we heard that they were being prosecuted in the competent court of jurisdiction. Right. So this is what I would have expected to see.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. NDC should know that they will not be in power forever, so they should be sober as they're losing credibility. Ata do say from Ofwase Kokobeng. My name is Alhaji Razak Yahya. We're in a democratic country, and I don't know why people will get up with guns to the former finance minister whilst he wasn't at home. This is not democratic. Are we going back to the revolutionary time? Because it was during, at that time, we saw the military men go into people's homes to beat them up. And what I have seen again about the 7 people which the Attorney General has taken to courts, has taken the case from court, it means that our tax money has been swept away. The Attorney General should come to his senses and don't understand what you're saying. I'm Francis from Cape. I'm just listening to a program. My prayer is that we ask objective questions and also elicit subjective answers. What does that mean? Please urge Minister to pay us allowance from 2024 general elections. Foster from the caucus says that Mr. Mama Yaraga's warped apologetic overtures to NPP leadership was completely needless and problematic. Has he forgotten so soon how NDC appointees were hounded after Rawlings, Mills, and Mahama lost power? Araga must not annoy the very base that got him into power. That's coming from Storin Tay Wendell in Qatar. Hamza, why is your government pushing the OSP to go after former appointees? You're hiding behind OSP, as the MPP are now suggesting that you guys are behind what the OSP is doing.
I don't think that is accurate. But even before I get to that point, you see, Muru, when we started this discussion, I took the pains of giving an overview of our democratic journey as far as the two major political parties are concerned.
Right.
I sought to present a nationalistic viewpoint in my submissions, and I'm sure that if listening to my brother from the other side, you could easily tell the once again obsession to be overly partisan, where the national discourse is lost. Ordinarily, those days, I would have won that political suit to meet him halfway. But I understand now that the responsibility of leadership is on us. And so if I go on that tangent, I probably would be engaged in cutting disappointments, not just for myself, but for the entirety of the government. Moro, the NDC undoubtedly comes from a revolutionary past. I made that point clear. And I gave an overview of how the NDC was formed and the different shades of opinions that came together to form that particular political party, and why we branded it as a Congress, not just a party. I also told you that indeed the radical elements from the revolutionary background would have an entirely different approach when it comes to how governance in this country should be handled, especially when dealing with the new patriotic party. And you cannot fault them. But remember, after 92, when President Kufuor came into power, it was the NPP that introduced that into our democratic governance, using military men to harass former appointees. Indeed, their own party people, the first time we heard about season of toilets, happened after President Mills lost the 2000 election. This is an accurate situation. When the MPP operatives in the northern part of this country went about seizing even public toilets, simply because, according to them, those who were manning it were NDC people. So you see, subsequently in 2009, when President Mills was sworn into office, every action of the NDC grassroots clearly was in response to what had happened after 2000, when President Kufuor was elected president. Fast forward, after the 2009 reaction by the NDC, the MPP came back in 2016. Instead of them to have ended, they had a golden opportunity to say, look, we did it in 2000, and the people responded in 2009. So let's end it there. They continued the cycle in 2017, using state officials, military men, to harass appointees of the former regime. So expectedly, our grassroots will be yearning for us to demonstrate that we are also still capable, and that we come from a revolutionary field, and we have not become a bunch of cowards simply because we are now in a democracy. They are justified to make those demands. And all what I have sought to say is that, look, even though they are justified to make those demands, we are managing it as responsible leaders. We don't want to go the way of the new patriotic party. And that is why I have raised my reservations about even the use of military officers the way they besieged, Ken Oforiatta's house. I raised my reservations about it. That is nationalistic. That is a political party that has demonstrated that, look, it is ready to lead this country based on the expectations of the Ghanaian people, not just on the expectations of its grassroots. So that point needs to be made. And so if I tell you that we are dealing with a more responsible leadership, I mean every word of it. And President Mahama reflects it to a very large extent.
Right.
And you see, again, my brother.
On the OSP matter.
Now on the OSP.
Yes.
I personally, you see, when everybody was excited about Ken Oforiatta being declared a fugitive.
You were not?
I was not.
Why?
I believe that what will make the National Democratic Congress different is, especially the communicators, is our ability to raise red flags when we see one, and prompt our leaders to take action in the interest of not just the NDC, but the Republic. I've made this point on another platform, Moro. You see, in all honesty, I think that the OSP is playing politics more than the politicians. Yes. In all honesty. And I struggle to find his end game too. I'm trying to understand what is driving him. You are doing an investigation. You claim to be doing an investigation. You are not the only institution mandated in this country to carry out an investigation. You are doing your investigation. It doesn't mean that it precludes the new government from also carrying out its own investigations. They also have their own investigative activities that are ongoing. The CID is carrying on investigations. The NIB, now we are told National Intelligence Bureau, the national security outfit could be instructed to go ahead with their own investigations. So if you are seated in your office and you have heard that some security officers have gone to the house of a former appointee, what business does it have to do with you? Even if there are accusations that you are the one behind it. A simple press statement, not a press conference, would suffice. That look, I'm not aware of it, I'm not the one doing it. You go and hold a press conference with taxpayers' resources, spend hours in that press conference, giving us absolutely nothing, just informing us about an ongoing investigation. What is the strategy in informing us that you are conducting an investigation? It is simply to alert institutions or other agents of the finance minister to hide whatever would have been beneficial to you.
Perhaps they're carrying Ghanaians along.
No, but that is the reason why I'm saying that it's not about carrying Ghanaians along. We need resource, and my brother indicated it.
Not efforts.
Not efforts. So if you are carrying out an investigation, that is why it is called an investigation, not a public charade.
You're speaking like a lawyer. That's good.
Keep quiet. Go ahead. No, I'm speaking like a true NDC person who understands the principles of the National Democratic Congress. And I uphold them. And I understand the demeanor and character of the president we are dealing with, President Mahama. Because I know that there is no way President Mahama would be excited about what has happened. It is true. That is. I'm going to give you a clear example. The whatever you call it, African Prosperity Network, APN. Many people were of the view that President Mahama should not attend it because it is being organized by Gabi Ochodako. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you know, Moro, that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo would never have attended something like that, organized by Ibrahim Mahama. It's not. Look at how they hounded Ibrahim Mahama. No. But President Mahama as a person, because of the national interest and the fact that irrespective of my differences with these guys, what he's doing is something that engages the African continent. I need to give him my blessing and my support. It doesn't mean that I will not go after him in terms of accountability as far as his role in the SY administration is concerned. That is the person I'm talking about. And so that is why I am confident to sit here and say that I believe strongly with every fiber of strength in me that President Mahama Eno would have a problem with the conduct of the OSP. Why do you do things like this? What was the end game? What was the objective of that press conference? Fugitive. Our laws are clear. If you need somebody to carry out an investigation and you are not getting the person, there's a process to follow to get the person. Indeed, in this era of technology, why couldn't you reach a compromise with even his legal team? Any questions you have for him can be done online. Can be done online. If your investigations are done, remember, this is not the prosecution stage. You are carrying out an investigation.
Well, they say they need him to charge him and arrest him.
No.
At this juncture, they say they have more than enough.
Go and charge him, arrest him, and activate the processes to bring him back to the country.
Let me come to George.
No, let me please.
Because of time.
I beg you.
Because of time.
Our
time is always up.
Under 2 minutes, Moro, don't. Under 2 minutes. You see,
this is what happens to me all the time.
For me,
yes.
For me, Moro,
yes,
I would be hugely disappointed in this government if we fail to hold the likes of Oforiatta accountable, especially Oforiatta. I'll be disappointed in my own NDC administration. I expect nothing less. But I do not want us to allow this OSP to use his politics, whatever the objective is, to muddy the waters for us even before we start. And for me, that is my disappointment. The state institutions, especially the presidency, must begin, or the Attorney General's department, must begin to take an interest in the activities of the OSP. Because in a way, it falls under him. He must begin to take an interest in the activities of the OSP.
Okay.
The gentleman is demonstrating and convincing me on a daily basis that he's not up to the task, in all honesty.
All right. George.
More. I disagree with Council, but I like the way he posited on the issues of OSP. Very,
you have 6 minutes.
Is there?
You have 6 minutes.
Okay, very brilliant.
Okay.
I know that's who he is a good one, but sometimes he's overly partisan, and I cannot fault him for that. That's the game we are in. But today, I'm very satisfied with his approach as far as, and he spoke that way because he's a lawyer and he knows the law. It cannot be the case. Fugitive? There's a person who has been convicted by the courts of Ghana, who has absconded to the United States. OSP never saw the need to declare her a fugitive. Sedinam Tamaklo. Okay? 90 million or 92 million CDs to be accounted for. A court of Ghana has sentenced her, and she's not within the jurisdiction. She is not a fugitive. A person that you are talking to, you've not even commenced investigations. Okay? You've not commenced investigation. And the sad aspect is my own big boss, Mustafa Abdul Hamid. He has not even been told he's been investigated. And yet, there's a press conference, 1.3 billion. He knows nothing about it. Moro. You see, those of us who have been in these management positions and co, there are some things. Comes to my office. I signed for it, but I didn't expend it. You get it? So I signed because it's under my directorate. I signed for the fund, and I give it to the team that is going to do that. When they finish, they must retire it to me. Okay. Then I hand it over to the accounts office, right? And so when you want the details, I'm not going to answer that. But you need to prompt me. I'll tell you, okay, talk to Dr. Gaddafi and others. They will be in the position to explain that. Okay. Is that not right management processes?
Right.
So if you just jump on me and say, because you've seen that I signed for it, I've chopped the money or something, it doesn't sit well. Okay. You should speak to me. Then I'll tell you, oh, okay, yes, it's true. I signed for this, but for the details, Dr. Gaddafi and Councillor Hamza will be the best people to respond. Then, if you want, the three of us will come because they were under my outfit. Okay, sorry, I'm not saying you're under me. Thank you. So, yes, so these are issues that we need to. And the OSP, maybe he has a security of tenure, Moro. So I don't see why he's courting the attention of the president. Right. The president cannot do anything to him. Just I've said in time without number that the president and the NDC cannot do nothing to the Electoral Commission. I've said it. They can do nothing. It's process that they will go through. So I was happy when my good brother Kwacho Fusu made the statement he made. I said, that's good. Calm the system and let's move on. You get it? They can't do anything. If there's any criminal act, go before. Charlotte Osei got herself entangled in that position because when they went to Parliament, they misconducted themselves. So those are matters that we need to look at. Now, OSP, look, you've not commenced. The act that sets you out, Act 959, okay, of 2017, gives you investigative and prosecutorial powers. True. It doesn't give you adjudicating powers. You are not a judge. Yours is to establish that indeed, these cases you are bringing, I'm telling you, nothing will happen.
Really?
The cathedral matter.
And the SML contract?
SML contract.
Much ado about nothing.
I said, look, we know the details. It's like I came to Kelny DVD. I'm telling you, the telcos were under declaring about 300 million CDs monthly. When Kelny, it's the SIM box fraud and all that. Those were the things they were tracking. And when they did all this, and there was real-time monitoring, real-time monitoring.
Let's not get into the details.
Real-time. Yeah. So those are.
I think your point is that.
Yes. So please, the charges. Listen. Let's go. You said it.
Okay.
And the first one is procurement of ambulances.
Yeah.
We have the GRA tax refund account payment.
Yes.
We have what? ECG and Beijing Technology Limited contract termination.
Yes, and all of that.
So What is it?
Okay.
So this ones, you then invite him.
Okay.
And look, when Oforiatta was leaving the jurisdiction on the 2nd of January, he sought permission from the Chief of Staff. And on the 22nd of January, he again sought permission, informed the current Chief of Staff, okay, that he is outside the jurisdiction on medical grounds. If they need him in relation to his portfolio he handled, he's ready to respond.
Okay.
And when OSP wrote 24th to them, his counsel, Osuma, responded to OSP. The OSP just wanted, that's why I used the propaganda aspect. And my people, President Kufuor told me one time, George, when it comes to propaganda, the people are miles ahead of you people. So focus more on communication than propaganda. You get it?
Well, propaganda in itself is communication, isn't it?
We know the kind of communications
you're propagating.
it is. I said we know the kind of communications it is, and my brother, he knows it.
He's trying so hard towards clean Nana Addo than Akufo-Addo. Unfortunately, Ghanaians know. You see, because I spoke about the virtues of President Mahama, you see how he's struggling to introduce Nana Addo into the picture. But Ghanaians know Nana Addo. Just to equalize. Ghanaians know Nana Addo. They know him. Tomorrow, you know Ghanaians know Nana Addo. Who loves propaganda more than Nana Addo?
No, let me round up. The issue of President Mahama being, look, he's there watching these boys going around, invading state agencies.
Some of them were your boys.
And
all right. Majority of them were NPP people.
Yes.
Moro, why are you allowing him to continue on this kind of when you know that immediately after the elections, those who were doing the ransacking, those who were doing the attacks on state institutions were NPP boys. Is that not a fact? In the northern region, for instance, it was the MPP guys.
He hasn't said.
It wasn't MPP guys.
It was MPP guys because they claim that you guys had rights and whatever, and you didn't give it to them during the elections.
All right, thank you very much for watching Inside Pages on Metro TV. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
More than 80% of global trade is carried by sea. Most of the products we consume daily travel through ports, making them a key link in the global supply chain. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is committed to ensuring the enhancement, resilience and sustainability of port infrastructure and maritime trade. Get to know which vessel is bringing your goods, how much duty you are required to pay and how quickly you can clear your goods from the ports of Ghana. We ask the relevant questions and elicit responses from the appropriate authorities. We interact with you via our social media platforms and put your queries across to the expert. Iron Port shows this and every Sunday live on Metro TV at 5:30 p.m. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by and powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Iron Port, transparency in doing business and building nation.
Of Ghana's was classified as
This is First Generation Show, the program for smart children.
Great generation. Children, are you ready?
Excuse me, sir.
Hello.
Please, next time, can you put it in a dustbin?
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'll not do that again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Girl, how are you? I've really missed you.
Look at how she's looking
so fabulous. I know, right?
Thank you. Auntie Naya.
Yes, dear.
Uncle Kofi.
Yes, dear.
All you've been teaching me about sanitation, I've been teaching my friends at school, and it has been absolutely great.
Really?
Wow.
That's a great impact you're making now.
Sure.
Keep it up, girl.
Okay.
Sure.
Auntie Naya.
Yes, dear.
I need to tell you something.
Go ahead.
If we want to be successful as a people, we need to be aware of the importance of sanitation.
That's true.
That's true. You're right, Amma. You're right.